7:33. You're watching and listening to Breakfast with Ellie and Paul.
Now time to go through the papers, and joining us this morning is broadcaster Liz Kershaw and senior reporter for the newspaper, Benjamin Butterworth. Liz, we're going to start with you this time. This is the pound spiking against the dollar as inflation falls to lowest in a year. This is in the Telegraph.
Yeah, the danger of being more boring than I was about earth metals.
Now you turn that around.
I'd put this in simply because it's a good news story. As we DJs say, the pound moving in the right direction now, mate. And it's slumped into something like £1.06p. It doesn't give the figure in here. It was 122 yesterday. So, yeah, on the way up. And it's all to do with the Federal Reserve, interest rates, inflation rates, projections for that. In fact, inflation, if you take out food and energy, inflation just rose by only 0.3% last month. So up 5.7% from a year earlier. So it was 10 or 11%. So it's when Rishi Sunak says it's going to bring down inflation, he can claim for that later in the year because it is naturally falling.
Yeah, when it goes up, it's the war in Ukraine and it's other factors, and we can't do anything about it. When it falls, we'll take the credit for it.
Yeah, I mean, it will fall because they're taking money out of people's pockets, aren't they, with higher mortgages due to higher interest rates, and people just have less disposable income, therefore demand falls. Therefore, it takes the fire out of the heat out of the economy. So it will fall. Well, gas and oil prices have fallen considerably in recent weeks, and somebody said on Twitter today, Liz, why haven't the prices come down for us? And it's the old thing that they go up like a rocket and they fall like a feather.
Exactly,
petrol shot up to over £2 a litre. And now it's sort of
147, 149, 150, isn't it? But it is absolutely linked to what you want to talk about, Benjamin, isn't it? Which is, I mean, we talk about growth, and if part of getting that growth back in the economy is going to be solving the labour crisis, the shortage of people who are to fill the jobs, and you want to talk about commentary in the Sun, about over 50s coming back to work.
So it's an idea that's been floated by the Treasury. It's not government policy, but they're reported as looking in it. And one of the Sun's columnists is supporting this idea, which is that people between the age of 50 and 59 would not have to pay income tax if they returned to the workforce. So apparently 386,000 people in that age bracket left the workforce just in one quarter last year. You've got a record high of 9 million economically inactive people. And so the suggestion is to get them back, they don't have to pay income tax. Now, for me, as a millennial, as a young person, I think the idea that you're going to be giving complete tax break to someone who's 55, these are people who've retired because the majority of them, 2/3, own their home outright. So this is as financially secure as you get. And the idea that they won't have to pay income tax, but someone who's my age with a degree pays, if they earn over 30k, over 50% in tax. Over 100 grand, and I'm paying 71% in tax. So the idea that you have young people paying that, meanwhile 50-year-olds are paying nothing. Quite frankly, I think that if the government says that they don't have to pay income tax, then millennials should have poll tax-style rights on the streets, because it's just generational theft. When people can't feed their kids or nurses can't pay for their costs at home, and then you've got 55-year-olds who've already got a home paid for and retired. I just don't think that's the answer to what economic.
We should stress this isn't something the government's planning to do. This is kind of one of those ideas that their special advisors have thrown on the table.
They've put it out to pasture to see whether we like it. And I have to say, even if you're in your 50s, if you're still in work, you're not going to benefit from this. The idea is that it would coax you back into work. And I think we do have a problem that there aren't enough people working, but at the same time, they don't want to let more migrants in, and they obviously want to work. So I just don't think it's the way to square the circle.
Yeah, is it fair, Liz?
No, I agree with Benjamin. Over 50s, let's be cynical, are also have a greater propensity to vote Conservative.
Yeah.
As people get older, they become more Conservative because they are more capitalist. They own more capital. I think, the 20s to 50s are the people having the toughest time. Yeah. They are the ones that are paying the mortgages. They are the ones that are rearing children, paying childcare costs. They are the ones that are trying to have a secure home by being able to secure a mortgage and pay it. And it just wouldn't be fair to put the only taxation burden on them. The big thing about tax and why people are leaving the market, the labour market, let's just think about doctors, GPs and hospital consultants who actually can't afford to work extra shifts, weekends, on double time, because it trajects them into another tax band.
Yeah.
And it affects their pensions. So people are having to retire. Otherwise, if they don't by a certain age, then every day they work, their pension pot is decreasing. I think the government should be focusing on that. But you do get to the stage where you think, is it worth me going out to work? I could not work now. So the incremental bit that I get from actually stepping out of the front door, you know,
it would be for other reasons, often not just financial. And what we're talking about here are people who can afford to retire. That's why they've done it.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, look, the question at the heart of it that the government's asking, and they've briefed several things about this, is really important. We have more vacancies than we have people who are unemployed. And so the economy can't grow when you have that situation. So another thing that they're looking at doing is saying that people on disability benefit can still get that benefit if they go back into work, because they think some people are trying to exaggerate how unwell they are so that they still get the benefit because they're worried about losing all their money. So, you know, we desperately need to get people back into work, and over 50s are part of that. But the idea that they wouldn't pay any income tax, I think, is grossly unfair, but it's not without precedent. Because if you're retired and you have an income, for example, you might own a property that you rent out, you don't have to pay national insurance on that income once you're retired. So, you know, which I think is completely unjustified, you know, when national insurance has gone up for everyone of working age.
Nobody willingly pulls out of working, does it, facing extreme poverty. Like you said, these people in that age bracket probably have paid off the mortgage, so have a secure home, and probably have an occupational pension, which, you know, gives them a good standard of living.
I also heard from the Resolution Foundation that a lot of these inactive people are also, and a rising number since 2019, have been ill or sick. And some people say that could be to do with the fact you're having to wait a long time for an operation, have to wait a long time to see a doctor, get a hospital bed, get any sort of medical attention on the NHS.
Yeah, on the point of job vacancies, there's this article in one of the papers today that there are massive job vacancies at the job centres. They can't retain staff there. The civil servants, which covers them, are about to go on strike. But it's a bit ironic when the loads of jobs going actually to work at
the job centre. Liz, let's take a look at one of your stories now in the Telegraph. A sigh of relief, we hope, for many people. A light at the end of the tunnel, it says, as rail strikes pay deal is close. This is in the Telegraph.
Yeah, this is about the unions. Mick Lynch, for example, has always said it's not just about pay, it's about changes to working practices, job security, job conditions. For me and the people I've spoken to that use trains, especially women, their major concern has been, we don't want to lose guards. We don't want to be on a train, especially late at night, where the only human being, member of staff on the train is the driver in his cab, and there's nobody patrolling the train, there's nobody to call upon for help, there's nobody to spot if somebody's got their coat stuck on the door and is being dragged along a platform. So that's a big thing for me, and I think it's a good idea if the authorities back down, the Department for Transport backs down and allows guards to continue.
Yeah. Do you think they will, though? Because it is at the crux of this argument, which has been going on since June of last year. I mean, do you think we'll see movement or not?
Well, apparently we are seeing it. Mick Lynch looked very cheerful at Euston Station, where it was yesterday. But the headline is that ministers scale back the demands for driver-only trains.
Well, one way through it, I'm told, Benjamin, could be that we have basically the drivers still do the doors, but the guards are turned into kind of customer service people. So they won't do the doors, but they'll still look after the customers on the train. Well, and that way, both sides in the dispute can say, hey, look, we insisted on driver-only trains and we got it. And the unions can say, we haven't got any redundancies.
I mean, you know, there is a precedent for not having drivers on trains, because in London, East London has the DLR, the Docklands Light Railway, and no one drives those, and that's been the case since Ken Livingstone, close to the RMT union, since that was introduced, and they just have guards. Now, of course, guards are a lot less expensive than drivers, and I think, for me, at least on things like the tube network, it seems like a plausible thing to do, but Liz makes all the right points about not having the guards, because especially if you're going on, proper train journeys, you need someone to check the ticket. So there's a financial impetus to having those on trains across the country, because they get the money out of people for the journey.
It's like an airline. The cabin staff, people think they're there to, respond to their every request and whim and gin and tonics and salmon pinwheels and all the rest of it. They're actually there for safety in case of an evacuation.
And you make a good point there, Liz, about safety, because I was on a train last night, just anecdotally, and there was a lady who'd fallen asleep, and her guard was the one who came along and said, look, we're reaching the end of the line, where do you need to get off? And helped get her off. And there is that point about women, especially alone. It's a safety issue, isn't it?
Well, I know somebody, before he started working from home, would get the train from the city to Northampton and regularly end up in Birmingham because people are knackered and they fall asleep, don't they? They need to be turfed off and woken up. Yeah, I'm going on the train today up north. I'll be very happy to see the guard. And can I just make a quick point about it? I think the other thing that needs sorting out about trains that's never been mentioned is the stupid, baffling pricing structure. So a quick example, to go from London to North Wales, if you go via Crewe and change at Chester, it's £15.80. If you go via Manchester, it's 50-odd quid, and that's with a senior rail card. Explain that to me.
Yeah, no, passenger groups have been saying we need to streamline the prices and make it a bit better. Benjamin, finally, a lorry driver who launched, this is in the Mail, a lorry driver who launched a violent road rage attack on another trucker has walked free from court because jails are too full. Yeah,
it's pretty shocking, actually. It's made most of the papers. So this guy was convicted of assault by beating after a road rage incident, and the judge said you should have 18 weeks behind bars. But there are no bars to put you behind. There are no prison cells at the moment. This all comes off, after the lockdowns and the pandemic, which has seen the whole justice system get even worse and fairly poorly resourced. And I think it should be a real concern that there are people where a judge considers that they should be locked up, but we can't because we don't have the space. That's really a kind of dangerous place for us to be in.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It just feels like everything's full at the moment. Hospitals, you have to wait for a place in prison, wait for a bed in hospital, wait for a GP.
Yeah, I don't know which I'll get first.
Wait for a dentist, you're right. Liz, Benjamin, you've been brilliant this morning. Thanks so much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. GBNEWS@gbnews.uk if you want to feed back to us on anything that you've just been hearing or watching. It is 8:46. We're going to talk